Well, hope the Twins enjoyed that nice big slice of humble pie they got served this week. Uh, they lose again today, 8-5. Swept, and it was originally supposed to be a 4-game series, ended up a 3-game series. In Chicago, swept, 14 and a half out. Allegedly this was the last stand. That there were delusional people coming into this saying, well, look, we got these games against the White Sox. We got a bunch of other division games in July. Hey, maybe now we can make one last push. And they flopped. They don't have fight in them. And even if they did, they're not good. And, like, the White Sox have been struggling a little bit. They're hurt. And they blew past the Twins in these 3 games with ease. I mean, I guess you could say a couple of games were relatively close. They made a little rally in the first game, and today they did tie it up in the middle of the game, and then they gave it right back because they're just terrible. And like, this was the death nail. Like, if you want to call it, the Bomba Squad era or whatever, today was the death nail. The nail is in the coffin for this entire era of Minnesota Twins baseball. It's over. And you look at their future. I mean, I couldn't rank them against every other franchise because I don't know their farm systems and everything. There can't be many teams in baseball that have a bleaker future than the Twins, because they have no future. It's going to be a long, long time before the Twins are even, competitive just to like sneak into a playoff spot, let alone contend for a World Series. And I don't know if people grasp this. Like, I think a lot of people are really just thinking, oh, it's just a down year. It's just all this other stuff. You still see people online blaming the umpires game after game. Like, the umpires are screwing the Twins. No, eventually you just have to fucking admit it, that they're terrible. And I mean, the season obviously is done. Like, it's been done. But their future is very bleak because primarily it's the pitching. I think they'll figure it out. As far as the lineup for next year and beyond, because they always, even during the real bleak years in the 2010s, and even somewhat in the 90s, like they could you know they could corral a lineup that could hit. And I think we've seen some of them already this year, like Larnack and Kirilloff, even Ryan Jeffers, Nick Gordon, and we've got some other guys we haven't even seen yet. They're going to be fine, I think, for a lineup. So, that part's okay, but you can't contend without pitching. You just can't. Not in. You can't mash your way through a 162 game schedule. You need pitching, and you especially need it if you were in the playoffs, which they aren't going to be. But I don't know what they're going to do. Like, the reports are already out there about Barrios, maybe trading Barrios. I mean, if they do pull the trigger on that, and look, you gotta hope that this front office is at least smart enough to know that they don't have to rush a Barrios thing, because you've got obviously the rest of this season. You can keep him through this season. You can keep him through next off season if you want, and then you have next season, and then even this might depend on the new CBA when they do that. If this still happens, you could do the qualifying offer thing, and then when Barrios leaves, you get at least a first round draft pick, so you could at least get something. I don't think it would go to that point, and again, I don't know if that whole thing where you get the first round pick for some of your guys leaving, I don't even know if that's going to still be around. But I mean, this fucking franchise, they're cheap. Nothing has really changed. Like, they went out and they made a couple bigger signings in recent years, like Josh Donaldson, but at their core, they're still cheap. Like, other franchises, franchises that are serious about competing and really going for it, it never gets to a point where they're talking about, oh, maybe we should trade Jose Barrios. No, of course you're going to sign him. He's not like ace in terms of like league-wide ace, but he's the best one you got. There would be no discussion about it, especially with there's no fucking pitching. Where's the pitching going to come from for this team in the next couple years? Unless it's just guys who are just way down in the minors, who we are barely even on people's radars yet, are just going to come through and just be amazing. Because, let's say they do trade Barrios, whether it's I don't think they're going to trade him. They would trade him this season, maybe in the off season, but you go into next year, who the fuck is going to pitch for you? Kenta Maeda looks like he has absolutely imploded. I don't know what happened there. You thought at the very least, you got a good, solid starter. He overachieved last year, but you figure, okay, you've got a good, solid starter for at least a few years, and he's affordable. And now he looks like you can almost barely put him out there. Like, with a different team, if he's pitching like that, he's bumped to the bullpen or the minors even. Twins can't do it, but and beyond that, like today, they finally, the Matt Shoemaker era ended. They DFA'd his ass after gave up like 8 runs in 2 innings last night. Hap's been a bust. Pineda's been okay, but now he's battling injury issues and he's a free agent. I think you're probably your top prospect, who is kind of right on the cusp of coming up here. That Duran, he's hurt now. His season might be over. He might even be going in for surgery. Like, it's frightening to look at what this pitching rotation could be next year if they do get rid of Barrios. What are you going to do? You're going to have Kenta Maeda, Bailey Ober maybe, Randy Dobnak maybe, and then what? They're going to go dumpster diving again for a couple of free agents who will probably not pan out because this front office has been pretty fucking terrible at going out and signing free agent starting pitching. And that's what it's all about, is that starting pitching. You got to get it, and everyone wants it, and there ain't that much out there. It's the number one commodity in baseball, and the Twins for decades have not been able to consistently develop pitching. Barrios is, in terms of guys who they drafted and developed, Barrios is just about it. He traded for, you got Santana in the Rule 5, so, he wasn't originally picked by the Twins. Liriano was on a trade. Beyond that, you got to go back to the 90s and Brad Radke to find somebody who the Twins drafted, who became a really good pitcher. And there have been some guys who've been okay pitchers, like Scott Baker and some of these guys, but if you're going to contend, that's the one thing they haven't done. They've kind of done it all different ways over the last 30 years. The one thing they haven't done is develop pitching. Certainly not to a high level, and that's what's going to take. But I don't see it, because everybody's in their minor league system is either getting hurt or they're not coming along, and we've seen this ownership, they won't spend the money on pitching. And the couple times they have, like, not top level, kind of like mid-level contracts, it's been busts, like, Ricky Nolasco and Phil Hughes, and, Urban Santana worked out a little bit, but, it just doesn't work out. And if you're if you're a Twins fan, it's going to be bad times for you for a long time, because this is not a quick fix. This is this is one of the more dispiriting seasons of a team that I can recall of any of the teams in town, because you look at it and you look at the future. Like, there have been bad seasons where you're like, oh well, they're you know you know even if it doesn't pan out that they bounce back, you still think, well, they can bounce back. I don't see it. I don't see how they bounce back from this. I don't see how they bounce back from this for a long time. And you know, this was just a very illuminating series for the Twins, because it really just showed how far they've fallen and how far they have to go. And the odds are very strong that their pitching could even be worse next year. It could be. You say, oh, well, Kenta Maeda will bounce back. How do you know? What is there to indicate with this franchise that they can fix pitchers? Everyone goes downhill, and then when they leave here, they go uphill. Like if Alcala came in today in relief in a tie game, literally the first batter gives up a home run, which he pretty much does every game. And I'm thinking, damn well Jorge Alcala is going to go pitch great for whatever team he goes to next. But he won't pitch well here, not with any consistency, because that's just how it is with this franchise. And this front office was brought in because they were known for developing pitching, and they've done nothing so far. They picked up a couple decent relievers kind of off the scrap heap, and sort of had Maeda going good for a year, but you look at it, what have they done? They haven't won anything. Nothing that matters. I'm sorry. Those 2 division championships mean nothing, because they got embarrassed in the playoffs. They had their shot. Mamba Squad failed. And, last year you probably had the best pitching you've had in a long, long time. And, again, you couldn't even win a playoff game. And, that streak that hangs over this franchise, it's not going away. And it's, I guess you could look at the bright side. It's not going to be extended. That 0-18 is not going to be extended anytime soon. But we're going to be looking at 20 plus years without a playoff game win for this franchise before all is said and done. And, of course, there's no guarantee that the next rebuild is going to pay off either. It's sad times, because it's one thing to have a bad season, but to see the future look as clear as it does and look as bleak as it does is just, it's rough, because and maybe miracles will happen. Maybe we do have in single A, double A. We do have starting pitching that's going to come up and just be good right away. Like you see with teams like Tampa Bay or Cleveland. Maybe that'll happen. It hasn't happened in decades here, so I don't know where that faith comes from. But it's time for the beginning of the rebuild and the big sell-off. And a long wait for contention again.